All right. You all wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Refreshed.
It's been a long minute since I've slept on the ground.
Oh, you get used to it.
I have a bed at home. I don't know about you guys.
Who needs beds?
Hey, when you go
Nature
camping
is-
every once in a while and you get tired, never mind.
What's camping?
You see, it's what humans do. It's called camping, but what we do is we raid a friendly village and take stuff from them.
I don't like camping.
Yeah.
What?
This isn't camping. This is just sleeping.
Forgotten just sits there and traces a sigil that he has now wrapped up in bandages so you can't see him. He's just like, well, what's on the game plan today?
They still hurt?
No.
We must find another temple. We have work to do.
Well, not that temple. And he points towards the city. We're going to avoid that place for right now. Let's say like a month at least. Maybe longer.
Possibly a year.
That is a very long time.
Is there any holy cities nearby?
I don't have a map, so you're out of luck with me.
Can I do a history check?
Go right ahead.
What would you consider remembering something as? What check would that be?
This history.
Yeah,
I'm gonna check
I'm
if
gonna-
I remember seeing a map near the town.
Well, I flew over the place earlier, so I'm gonna see if I remember a good idea where the last, even if it's a smaller city, where the next city would have been.
That
Mhm.
is a 24. A
Okay.
natural 20. But
All right. What'd you get?
I got a natural 20, but that's with my perception 24.
Okay. So you remember a map. You remember seeing one. You realize there is a decent-sized city that you could take the road to get there, or you could cut through the woods and probably save half a day's trip.
I point directly in the direction because I flew there, so I have no idea about paths. So just it's a city that way.
Alright.
I like your idea. Let's avoid the road, shall we? A little trek through the woods, walk there, and so on and so forth sounds a lot better.
I
I mean,
agree with
one
that.
with nature.
I'm not built for walking, but we can.
You see Forgotten kind of pinch his eyes after you say it. He's just like, let's go.
And so they went.
All right. You guys are walking through the woods. Fairly uneventful for a while. You're not sure how long it's actually been. You know, it's kind of hard to keep track of time in the woods without your sundials.
Don't know what you're talking about. Mine's made by Uchi.
Oh,
God.
yeah.
Anyways, why don't you guys give me perception checks?
Cool.
Oh,
Oh,
great.
I don't notice.
22.
I noticed a 12.
Okay.
I noticed.
16.
Okay.
Forgotten got a 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
13 for me.
Okay. Tao
How? What's up?
is the only one who noticed. Is that a distance behind you, up in one of the trees, there appears to be some kind of figure, kind of perching on a branch.
Does it remind me of something I would do?
It's looking at it, you'd have to say it looks kind of like one of these people here in roughly shape.
Which one does it look like the most?
Mm.
Like, it would just at my quick glance, which figure would I pair it to?
Well, none of them in skin tone or facial complexion, just like body type.
Okay.
You notice that he has skin the color of obsidian
So I kind of like,
and hair stark white.
so as we're just like kind of walking, I like kind of put myself close to Forgotten. And I just in a low tone, the way that I try and get him to not listen. I just go, "There's someone following us in the trees behind us. What does he look like? He reminds me of you
So, red skin and horns.
with white hair."
So, red skin and white hair. Let's
Should I be concerned?
say yes. Let's not act like it. Get a little bit out of his sight so we can probably ambush him.
Would we lose in a direct fight?
Don't know. Want to find out?
I can buy you guys time.
I will point out I said obsidian, not crimson.
That's black.
Top doesn't see color.
I assumed you just mistook an old character. My mistake. I did say he reminds me of you. I didn't say he was red.
Okay.
That was his assumption.
You didn't say otherwise. So,
Anyway, so
would
here's
you rather fight him now or ambush him? It's up to you.
well, here's my plan. And I'm still not pointing you guys in yet. This is still a one-on-one conversation because we don't want to offset the dude. I say maybe I can buy you guys some time to set up an ambush.
Well, either that or me and her could sit there and talk to him. He just kind of flicks his horns. Casually still walking, making it look like he was doing like a little scratch that flicks him. We are of special blood.
The entire time they're walking, Toah has his hands behind his back. So that way, like, you know, just kind of polite walking. Try not to let him know that he knows he's there.
So it's up to you what you want to do.
You have a coin.
Pulls out a gold piece.
And he takes the gold, flips it, and I'm gonna roll a d4 for heads or tails.
Okay.
Evens would be heads, odds would be tails.
All right.
Heads or tails, he calls. And when it comes down, he catches it, but doesn't flip it yet.
Let's go. Tails never fails.
Meaning,
Tails.
does
We talked to him. Or tried to.
it's tails. Hands back the gold coin.
Puts it in there. You notice immediately from his normal posture, he shifts back to what he was in town. Back straight, hands locked behind his back, and you see him pivot like a machine on his heel, and he's just like, "Sir, come out."
When Toah does it, he like puts a hand out directly out to where he was, knowing he saw him there.
And I'm just like,
Okay.
I know I bring out the whip.
You hear some rustling, and it's getting closer and closer. And then a tree right near you, the rustling stops. And then a figure just leaps down, lands right in front of you and says, "What are y'all doing in here?"
Big question is, why are you following us?
It's part of my job.
And your job is...
And that would be telling now, wouldn't it?
You notice him do the eye-pinching thing again, just like, oh my god.
Toah speaks up. I now have 3 guesses.
Okay, so as this individual is standing before you, you all recognize he is clearly a drow. He has slicked back, longish, stark white hair, obsidian skin. He's a slightly muscular, on the thin side build. And he's got 2 rapiers, one on each hip.
So, I'm either guessing along with Tal, you're following us to track us, or you just monitor these woods. Which one?
And one of those is correct.
I am not flipping another coin.
I'm gonna crack my whip just ominously in the background.
So, how about this? We make this very simple, and I'm going to go ahead and do an intimidation roll. You either tell us what you're doing out here while you're following me, or when I get back to town, I'm going to have you drawn and quartered for disturbing my peace.
I roll to assist since I cracked my whip at that time.
Alright, let me pull up his character sheet. Where is
My
it?
intimidation's good, though.
I'm about to sit this one out.
Okay.
I got a 19.
Okay.
Got 13, so obviously.
I think you beat it.
Alright. He looks at you and goes, there's no need for violence.
Well, you're irritating me, getting on my nerves, and I think I'm starting to get a headache. You want to know what happened to the last person that gave me a headache?
I do.
I'm going to stab you later.
You're going to be the next one.
He says, well, you are in my neck of the woods. So, technically, you're the ones that should be answering questions, not me.
Well, as we can both tell, I don't care. I'm going on a leisurely stroll with, well, a friend of mine and my guards. So, how about we lock that jaw, ignore our passage, we cause no problems, you cause no problems, and nobody has to find out.
He stands there, makes a face like he's thinking. Well, you see, it's kind of my job to monitor what goes on in these woods and report it back, so...
And you know, my family's been missing out on a sacrifice these past few weeks. I hear drow blood goes real good.
Well, you say that, but you're a bit far from home now, aren't you?
True. Oh, but wait. Hold on. Can I do an actual history check to remember anything about drow?
Sure.
Cool, because there's something I would love to leverage right now. That is a 17 plus 5, so a 22.
Okay.
Basically, I want to know they're a matriarch system, yeah?
Nope,
Not in this world?
not in this world.
What are they then? Give me a...
They're a matriarch system when they're
Okay.
in the Underdark.
Most drow are followers of Terra,
Mhm.
whereas most other elves are followers of Aurea, kind of the silly and unsilly fae.
So there's nothing in like their usual past history, like in normal D&D rules that I can leverage against them, like tell his matriarch.
Nothing
Oh,
against
no.
drow specifically.
So Forgotten sits there and strokes his kind of 5 o'clock shadow, and he's just like, well, I'm a bit far away from home, but this is also 1, 2, 3, 5 v1. I think my heritage is a little bit more hot-blooded than yours, and in the end, if I don't come home and you know they know we came to these little neck of the woods, who's the first one going to get skinned?
He chuckles and he says, "You think I'm alone?"
Intimidation roll real quick, guy. That's going to be a 25.
I'm gonna interrupt real quick. When he says you think I'm alone, I'm gonna roll for perception check.
I'm gonna do that too.
He's gonna look around at wait a minute. Dirty 20.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I got a 9.
I'm also going to.
You, up until this point, you have seen nothing, but as he says that, 5 more figures drop out of the trees. And you notice that it's a mix of different races. There's 2 humans, a halfling, a gnome, and a wood elf.
Upon seeing all of them, and with my intimidation, I still flick at my horns. I'm just like, again, my heritage. And if I don't happen to come home within 2.5 days' time, maybe less, they're going to come to these woods. And unless you're normal bandits, which in that case, well, that's a different story, who's going to be the first ones to get skinned? And trust me, my father really enjoys the taste of the long pig, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, you see here, I don't fear your father. I frankly don't care who he is. If I feared your father, I wouldn't be with the group I'm with.
And
Can
what group is that?
He smiles kind of mischievously. Why don't you give me a history check?
Okay.
And I also.
God, this dice like number 18. That's gonna be a 23.
Okay. It occurs to you that with such an assorted group like this, and knowing what you know about the town that you were coming up upon, they could either be smugglers or rebels.
So at that, I cock my eye and be like, so, do you rather sell your fellow people, or do you want to free them?
He looks at you. Ah, you're smarter than you look.
Well, thank you, sir. Now, can I get the answer to the question? Because that's going to determine this outcome.
Well, you see here, I'm what you call a liaison.
Mm-hmm.
I facilitate meetings between the factions.
Mm-hmm.
So you could say I'm a little bit of both.
So,
A smuggler.
you smuggle people for the rebels.
Something like that.
Tao interrupts. Actually, a little bit of both is not a bad idea. It is good for the balance.
At this point, you notice him just sit there and exhale. He's just, oh, okay, cool. Awesome. You're not from the city. Cool, cool, cool.
So I don't think these guys are worth our time. I turn around to leave.
And I don't think if you work with the rebels as well, I don't think bloodship's worth it.
Says, okay. Now, I would ask that you would kindly leave our woods.
We're going to be heading through straight to the town. Is that a problem?
He says, we'll escort you.
Not a problem.
From afar or near.
Good question.
Tao doesn't pick up on the intimidation that he's trying to put on because he doesn't understand the lingo. He's just like, no, it's okay. We're strong enough.
I'm sure you are.
Good day then.
He stands there and blinks for a couple seconds.
Tao turns to walk with what's your name?
Jacob.
Jacob. He turns to walk with Jacob and just doesn't acknowledge them anymore. He thinks the conversation's over.
So as you guys get walking back, the group definitely does not leave you.
But how close are they?
Well, some of them go back up into the trees, and the drow stays right up with the group.
Alright, so I'm going to ask him a couple questions then, as long as anyone else doesn't want to. I don't want to hog all the role playing.
No, I'm good.
And as he walks with both his hands clasped behind his back.
I still got my coin purse firmly in my hand. Firmly.
I have no gold.
So, I sit there and be like, so, you enjoy working with the rebels, or do you more enjoy selling people to them?
Who said anything about selling people?
Are you giving them away?
I don't think you understand what we're doing here.
Can I do a history check to see if I know anything?
You wouldn't know anything about him
You're right.
being from the island.
Well, enlighten me. Because my guess you were either smugglers or rebels. And you said you're a little bit of both. So it makes me option A, you're kidnapping people and selling them there for forces. Or option B, you're kidnapping people or saving fellow slaves in the city and then bringing them to the rebel allies.
So at this, he kind of gives you a half smile, kind of taps as if he had horns on his head, says, my, your tiefling is showing. So you assume that just because we're rebels, that we must be the bad guys? Have you considered maybe that your precious empire are the ones that are at fault here?
Yes, entirely.
I'm guessing they're.
He's actually a little bit surprised by your answer there. He was not expecting that. He says,
My,
you assume that we're smuggling people.
my, your drow's showing. Not all tieflings are siding with people. Some of us get tired of the higher ranks and everything like that. So, weapons then. Magic items. Little both, little column A, column B.
My job here, if you must know, is to help facilitate cooperation between the smugglers and the rebels.
So then I got a very good question for you. Are you able to, excuse me, got a little of the jerky from my rations in my throat. Are you able to, smuggle people into, he flicks his horns again, certain households?
For the right price.
With a passive perception of 14, would I be hearing this conversation?
Depends. How close were you walking?
We're all in the group, aren't we?
Yeah, but yeah.
Well, I was walking next to Forgotten to begin with.
Okay, so as they're talking, you were standing right there. Then you would hear the whole conversation.
I'm just making sure because this whole conversation of him being neutral would interest Toah. Because neutral parties are where he does.
Naturally, I'd want to hear what they're talking about because my
I
character.
mean, you're all able to walk close enough to hear the conversation if you so desire.
Then what if I said I wanted you to smuggle a couple things out of the household?
Again, for the right price, it could be arranged.
What? Well, sorry. My household. What is the actual official title for it? Or do I need to create that?
Yeah, that was all you.
Not a problem. So for right now, to insert later, I give him the name of my household and be like, what if I wanted you to smuggle some weaponry from the Lord's personal armory?
He says, well, obviously knowing the family, it would cost you quite a bit of copper, but we could arrange something.
And how much copper are we talking?
Oh, quite a bit.
Give me a number here.
We'd have to do a little bit of recon just to see the exact amount, but I imagine it would be about equal to the commoner's yearly wages.
So we talking 5 gold here then? Or
A
are your
little more than
commoners
that.
different than mine?
My, you're out of touch, aren't you?
I enjoyed books. So what? 25? 30? 50?
We're getting about the right area now.
Now, we talking about the commoners that are paid in the city or the commoners paid elsewhere? Because in the city, if I remember correctly, they get paid roughly about 10 gold a year.
Oh. We are a little bit more in touch than we thought.
Isn't it such a shame?
He gives you an appraising glance. And then he just kind of smiles and nods and says, all right. Provided that the scouting party would get back with all the information necessary before heading in, we could probably do it for 25.
Forgotten smiles and just be like, okay. Now, get back with me on that information, and I have one final question for you.
Yes.
What if I wanted to get somebody or two out of there?
That would be
trapped under a tyrant who murders and tortures his own family.
Would be a little bit more difficult. We would have to make quite a bit more preparations, but it could be arranged.
Forgotten just smiles and looks forward. Get a hold of me when you have the numbers.
All right.
I'm good.
We should be careful when trying to go into that city, though. Like I said to these people quite a long time ago, it's evil.
I then clearly point at his complexion and I'm just like, well, someone of his inheritance wouldn't have a problem walking around there unless you developed a bad rap.
I'm just hoping.
He smiles and fakes. He fakes offense and says, "Moi, I have nothing but the most upstanding reputation. You offend me, sir."
Sarcasm is unbecoming.
I haven't the faintest of what you mean.
Sure you do.
I do not.
What was that?
I said,
Earthy
sure
one?
you do.
It's not worth the headache. I'm gonna just say that now.
Duly noted.
Forgotten just shoots you a death glare, just like, and keeps walking.
You said you were an Aarakocra, correct?
That is correct.
Never heard of your kind. Maybe you can tell me of your kind.
Well, we originally came. If the
Idle
Aarakocras are from regular D&D lore, right? You didn't have anything special for them. Okay, so I'm going off it. We came from a different plane of existence, brought into this one, and normally we would go back, but we found peace here. But we stopped flying many eons ago.
But I've seen you fly. Does that mean your species as a whole can't fly and you're just a rarity?
No, not. It's not that we cannot fly. It's that the skies are dangerous with the gods, as they are.
So you just keep the solitude then?
It is safer that way.
Do you seek balance to spread your kind around, or is it just to quiet things up?
This isn't for just us. Balance is for everyone. Peace is an option just as war is. It affects everyone involved. And even
Balance in all things.
in everything. That is why I do not hate the city behind us. I merely dislike being there.
I dislike what they do. If they did less of it or none of it, that'd be great.
That's why I'm here on this large island. I'm here to either lower the evil or raise the good, as long as they equal out in the end.
Could use a little more good than evil, though.
Too much imbalance would ruin everything.
Yeah, I could use a little bit more good, though, right? And I nudge you and walk forward a little more.
Yes, but with something too good or too bad, the world will grow stagnant and die. And then war will stir, and then something else will go along, and yada, yada, yada. Cycle never ends. But maybe we can change
Eerie. I'm gonna go scout ahead. I kind of get a light jog ahead.
Okay. Why don't you guys give me perception checks?
it. No big problem.
Orchie.
9.
Nice.
18.
As a 23.
14.
Forgotten's too busy thinking about his future plans. He's got a 12.
Okay, well, you notice. Anyone who got above a 10 notices that as you guys are talking, the drow just seems to be kind of appraising all of you, kind of just considering everything you're saying. Probably trying to put together a mental file on who he thinks you all are.
Tal's going to speak up, and because he heard the whole conversation with Forgotten. He says, "What about you? What's your take on things? I heard you are not part of the city, therefore you must be something else."
He says, well, the way I see it, he thumbs his back towards the city. He says, it's raw depressive, it is. And then he says, and really, the way the gods are now, it ain't right. If that's how it's supposed to be, that's how it would have been before. So I reckon I can do my small part to get things all settled up. But while I'm at it, might as well be making a few bits of coin.
Did Drow used to follow Lolth? Or was that completely different on this?
There's no Lolth in this.
Okay.
It's Deterra.
Okay, my bad. Sorry.
So Tal nods as he speaks and says, "Monetary gain is not my idea, but I suppose it's not a bad thing so long as your greed doesn't consume you."
So, mind if I ask for a name? If we end up doing business, I want to be able to know how to get a hold of you. And who you
Sis.
are.
Alright, as long as I get you off first.
You can call me Forgotten.
Tal leans in. He can't seem to remember his name.
And Varys, knowing what he does of the tiefling culture, he's like, nickname, huh? No chance you're going to tell me your real name?
Real names don't matter anymore, and that is mine.
Alright. You can call me Varys. Verisalia.
Mind spelling that for me, boss?
Varis.
Hold on, let me get my actual notes.
VAIS.
Varis.
RIS.
Ferris.
Aelar.
L-A-R. Here's Alara.
I went ahead of the party like at least like 60 feet just to like see if anything was up ahead.
Okay.
Well, I'm back.
Varys will kind of talk in your direction and be like, "You may want to stick with the party, bud."
This is kind of my thing.
Says, "Yes, well, really, this is my thing. And I tell you, you probably want to stick with the party."
So I'm guessing I've
Do not
seen him
forget
go
his
ahead,
band
right?
of friends.
What's that?
I'm guessing we've seen them go ahead, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna approach Varys,
Okay.
and I'm going to say, now here's something. You guys do scouting. Is it possible you could possibly find someone for me?
For the right price.
Forgotten Archer's up an eye. He wants to hear how much gold this kid has.
How much are you worth, boy?
Because Forgotten easily has how much he needs.
I just kind of look at him like, who needs such material possessions?
I do, for one.
The world don't work off twigs and bones. It's moved by gold and blood. Remember that.
And preferably golden, not blood.
Just so you, in case you forgot, I'm wearing my sash,
Mm-hmm.
like an open.
Oh, yes. And as he's talking to you, he says, "You're a rare bird, aren't you?"
Very rare, apparently.
Very stupid.
If he don't get his head out of his own Saruk, then he's going to end up in the dirt.
Varys just chuckles and says, "I suppose he was. Were you wearing that get-up inside the town?"
Yeah. So what of it? I mean,
You're not from around here, are you?
no, I'm not.
Boy, I would highly recommend you get yourself acquainted with the way things run around here.
Probably if I bothered listening to others.
He opens his mouth to say something, either thinks better of it or can't think of anything suitable to say to that, and he kind of just starts to engage with someone else.
I'm like, hey, you were going to say something, weren't you?
He turns and looks at you, kind of raises an eyebrow and says, "And if I was?"
Oh, I would want to know.
I'm sure you would.
If he ends up having a new hole in his stomach, I won't look that way.
I will.
Oh, there's no need for that. Certainly. He'd be out long before it would come to holes.
So much of that drow poison I hear about that.
Poison? I have no need for poison.
Poison is a coward's weapon.
He kind of, he flexes his fingers, and as you notice this, you see a bit of a shimmer around his hand.
Magic.
No need for poison at all.
Magic, are we?
Something like that, yes.
So, if I gave you a gold piece now, actually, correction. If I show you something and you can properly identify it, how much would it cost?
You have my interest. What kind of something would you be showing me?
He undoes the bandages a little bit and kind of lets them fall. Not a lot, but he shows him kind of a little bit of the symbol. Not completely, so it's kind of cut off here and there. He didn't want to take all the bandages off, but he's like, "What are you making of that?"
Hmm.
Wraps it back up.
My. It's been a while since I've seen one of those.
I want to do an insight check to make sure he's not bluffing me.
Okay.
That's a 15.
Yeah, you think he's telling the truth. It's been a little while since he's seen this, but he seems to have seen it before.
I pull out a silver piece and put it in his palm. What do you know?
He says, well, you wouldn't happen to be a warlock, would you?
I guess you could say that's what I am now.
Well, last time I saw this, well, that was another warlock. Burns on his palms just like yours.
You know anything about the god?
Well, what I can say is he is one for trickery. I would keep that in mind with your further dealings with him.
Do you know where the other warlock is now?
Oh, this was several years ago. I couldn't tell you now.
Could you give me a name?
Well, see, the problem is, I didn't really get his name before I disemboweled him.
Ain't that a shame? If you would have been able to, there might have been another silver in for it.
Oh, right, shame, yeah. Well, that's what happens when you try to kill me.
Good enough reason, I guess. I don't think I have anything else unless someone else wants something.
Okay, so you guys have been walking for what you assume to be hours, and you can kind of see there is a town off in the distance. It's a decent sized town, nowhere near as big as this walled city that you were in before, but fairly decent size.
Any info on this town? Varus?
Says, well, looks like we're coming up on Brockton. He says, I'm sure you're aware of your, lineage, the way it is, that every major town has guards posted at the entrances.
History check on the town, I guess.
Okay.
Can I do too?
That is a natural 20, my sir.
Okay.
I did some reading and studying. I probably went over here to get some stuff.
19.
Alright. Brockton is a trading town. It's kind of a central location between several other towns, so a lot of people will make a trip to here rather than spreading everywhere to sell their goods. So it's a good place to buy things.
Oh, to note this, I'm going to, since we're heading into town,
Mm-hmm.
I put my stash away.
Varus chuckles and says, smart boy, anything already?
Now more evil.
You just see Forgotten do a like.
So many people with so many things to hide.
I'm not hiding anything. Points towards the sigil on his back.
Now, Jacob, you would know, as you're well-traveled, that this city does not have the evil presence like the capital does. It's just a regular trade city, so they just have a regular guard presence like any other town does. They monitor carts going in and out to make sure there's no illicit goods, nothing that's been banned, any sort of substances from entering or exiting the city for that matter. And you would know that there's also guards that are near the main mercantile district.
Last question for you, Varys, before we head off from this town.
You certainly have a lot of last questions, don't you?
Probably.
So,
Anyways,
do you know any place good to get a hold of some information on some older lore, old gods, that's not been destroyed, burned, or probably used to make walls?
I'm guessing I'm hearing this, right?
yeah.
Everyone is.
Okay, yeah. Well, as given my background,
Mhm.
I'm like, I could even help you find it.
Varys?
He says, well, I'm sure he could tell you at least about one of them. I don't know about the rest of them.
Do you know any place good to get information like that?
Well, I know where I could certainly find out.
I dropped 2 more silver pieces in his hand, just like, find out what you can about this for me.
He says, as he tucks them in his pouch, on his belt, he says, will do, sir. Now, bit of advice. This one's on me. I take it you're trying to be on the down low as you took the woods, not the road?
Yeah.
Avoid the gates.
You know the best way to get in without the gates?
He says, I might.
Someone else can cover this one. I've done enough.
Don't look at me.
I'm gonna. Do I see any like other means of way ins, like just from like looking at the city?
Well, you do know you could probably try to scale the wall around the city, but it is quite slick looking, at least from this here. It's very smooth.
I propose a trade. I say, what about we trade something?
He perks up. Trade. What do you have in mind?
He pulls out the tools from his pack he was using to sharpen his katana earlier. He says, I bring your weapon to its most tempered state. Make it the best it can be, and you tell us what we want to know.
When you say weapon, do you mean both of them?
I can, so long as you give us the information we desire.
Just, I tell you what. I'll show you how to get in the city. Well, I mean, I will take you into the city. I don't necessarily want you to see. Those are kind of my routes. But I will take you into the city. And for that small favor, you can sharpen my swords.
That is what I do, and I am very good at it.
All right then. Do we have a deal?
He looks over at Toah.
I will do.
Looks at the rest of the group.
I've got no problem with it.
Neither do I.
This chair is
Neither
not safe at all.
You're sitting in it all weird.
You're the one making the most deal. You give the handshake.
Sticks his hand out.
I stick out my hand and I shake it.
Says,
No,
all right then. And as he does that, the rest of his group hops back down out of the trees. And he says, all right, boys, we're going to take him into the city. Our way. But I don't quite trust them yet to show them the way, so you all have your blindfolds. And they all produce some manner of cloth. And says, if it's all right with you, we'll go ahead and take you in now.
How do I know you're not going to just rob us blind and leave us in a ditch?
He says, my, forgotten. Not kind of the sort to trust, huh? If I was going to rob you blind, I would have done it already. And he flicks a gold piece at you.
I was holding my coin purse. Saluta. So if I look at the rest of my coins...
You'll notice they're all there.
Fine. How many copper pieces do I have?
I don't know. How many copper pieces do you have?
Furgon takes him, cinches him, and he clearly eyeballing the dude. You see him slowly take his coin purse down into his private parts and sets it by his side. Alright. If you want it, you gotta give me a good time for it.
Varys chuckles a little bit. Says, I'm sorry. Don't swing that way.
Nor do I.
I know a couple people who do.
I mean, that's
He
for your opinion.
looks
The one
over at you
for
and says, that's nice.
Please put the blindfold on before I stab him.
And snaps his fingers twice, and you all get blindfolded. And you kind of, walked. You're not exactly sure what's going on, but you walk for a little bit, and he says, all right, you can remove the blindfolds. The blindfolds are taken off of all of you guys. And you're in a back alley. And you presume inside of the city.
So if we need out of this city,
Well, you can either contact me, or you can go through the gates.
and that brings me to my point, contacting you.
He says, well, he pulls out a small shard of what looks like crystal.
Mhm.
And he says, just crush this, and we'll be able to find you.
Can I do an Arcana check on it?
Sure.
That is
I'm gonna second that up. I was gonna take a note.
16.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we'll do it.
All the magic users should probably do that.
That's a 18.
Same.
Okay. You realize it's sort of like a one-way sending stone. You crush it, and it sends out kind of a pulse that the person who has some other kind of similar device would be able to track the pulse.
My character knows that too, right?
Yeah, you would both know that.
Forgotten puts it in his pouch and he's like, good enough.
He says, with that, I'll bid you adieu. Tips his head, bows just a little bit, and almost melding into shadows, all of the group that was with you seems to just slink away.
By the way, it was 75, 79, and also a right Sanoku right next to him.
I spaced out. Did he give me the swords?
He did not.
He's already gone though.
Bye.
I'm guessing he's going to want you to sharpen those later.
Eventually.
Maybe. If you remember.
It is what I do.
So anybody want to go to the market? Because I wouldn't mind getting a hold of pulls out the still short sword, a couple more blades.
I have no use for the market.
I would like to see a doctor.
Probably use some provisions before we go.
Rations would be good. What do you need a doctor for?
He produces like 3 small, like you can almost can't see them, but they glint in the light needles. They use these to inject medicine into people. I use them for other reasons. Out of character, he's showing you his darts.
He sits there and scratches his scruff on his face and just like, good enough. Whoever wants to lead the way, lead the way.
And so Tao walks.
Okay. Does he pick any general direction? You guys are in a back alley, so...
He goes out of the alley to where he sees people.
Okay. You are in what would be like a meat market.
Forgotten throws up his hood, which doesn't do much because his horns end up catching it, but he still puts it up. He's just like, tightens the bandages.
At the very least, it would give off the vibe of "Don't talk to me."
Yeah. I probably should have said that. I understand both Elvish and Undercommon. I would have known everything he would have said.
Me too. No, wait, I don't.
I speak 4
Uncommon.
languages, and 2 of them are the same thing.
I speak
Let's
7.
pick 4.
Abyssal,
Right.
Common, and Infernal.
I got Aarakocra and Orin, and and then Celestial and Common.
Common, deep speech, druidic, infernal, undercommon.
So
Speak
I'm gonna look
eight.
for like an alchemist store or something or a stand.
Okay, so like I mentioned, you guys are at a meat market, so you're not gonna find any of that here.
Rations.
But yeah, you would be able to find rations or food in this area.
Do I have money?
I guess it might be rations.
I want to
don't
do
know.
a perception check to see if I
I
can
do.
find a
I have
general
50 gold.
store.
Okay.
I don't.
I got gold.
I was like, do I have money?
I'm willing to see if I can.
Perception of 15. Do I see a general store?
So where you're at, it's an open air market.
Basically, I'm looking for someone that not only will sell like rations, but will end up selling like herbalist kits and like adventuring gear and everything.
So it's basically all food. You see some veggies and stuff, so you could try looking there. You could also just ask somebody.
I'm gonna walk up to a stand. Do you have any good cuts of meat?
You walk up to the stand behind it. Very large, heavy-set man. He says, "Do I have good cuts of meat? I have the best cuts of meat."
That is a good answer. Show me. I am hungry.
He just kind of gestures towards his table. He's got all kinds of, looks like beef, pork, chicken, whatever you want. He's got it there.
He's got chicken.
Go me for this one. He looks at the chicken and goes, I'll have some of that.
All right, so the chickens are whole chickens. And he says, all right, that's 3 copper.
He pulls out a gold piece. Can I get my change back?
Takes gold piece, eyes wide, and says, of course. And he gives you
watching to make sure he doesn't get swindled.
the change back that you requested.
He leaves all the copper on the table. Keep up the good work, my meat smith, and walks away.
Okay, yeah.
When he walks away, Forgotten looks at him, just sit there. He's just like, rations, pre-dried meat, fruits. You got anything like that, or do I need to go someplace else to spend my gold?
He holds up a now dripping bag. Chicken.
That's gonna rot.
Need to cook that immediately.
He
You're not cooking.
he gestures to one part of the table that has dried meats, and he says, I can't help you with the fruits and veggies, but I have the dried meats here.
Forgotten smiles, showing his like pointed teeth, because tieflings have like sharp teeth. And he's just like, meat will do just fine. He ends up dropping, I'm gonna say 5 gold pieces, which ends up to be in a total of 10 rations.
Okay.
Now, where's the best place to find a general store?
So, general store? This road down here. And he starts giving you street names, which you may or may not know. And he gives you, like, but the way he gives it is like, all right, you go down this, about this so far, then you turn here, then you go here. It's real convoluted. But as you're thinking through it in your head, you realize you could just kind of go forward several more blocks than what he said, and then cut the corner.
Yeah, when he's sitting there doing that, in mid-talk, Forgotten pulls out a flask, uncorks it. The entire time he's talking, just like, starts drinking. And then when he does, he puts up his finger and just like... So repeat all that again, but clear the phlegm from your throat, please. Nope.
I walk up during all this, and I walk up and go, I'll take 10 of those, I guess. I guess that'll do for now. I'll take the jerky.
10 what?
10 packages of rations for jerky.
Well, okay. Same price that Forgotten paid then?
No, it'd be 10.
You want
gold.
10 rations, right?
10 rations
10.
is... Oh, my bad. 10 rations is 5 gold. So it'd be 20 rations. Because it's
Yeah,
0.5 gold per ration.
So
Yeah.
20
Per day.
then.
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought you were saying you wanted
No,
10 rations.
No, I got 10 rations for 5 gold.
Oh, no, I thought he was saying he wanted 10
he
rations.
wanted 10 gold's worth of rations.
Yeah, so 20 rations.
All right.
I don't
And I'm going to leave him like 2 extra gold
All right.
to keep the change.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Indeed.
Well, general stores down that way. Gentleman had quite a lot of phlegm in his throat. That's where I'd like to go. Then
It was either
an
phlegm in
armor
his throat or his massive jowls.
You can't tell.
Did I see any?
Forgotten sits there and remembers the flask, and he just tucks it back in. He's just like, we'll go with both.
Did I see any like alchemy stores or anything like that?
You're walking down this way. I assume you all stick together.
That's why I was asking him if they wanted to go with me or not.
We will all take turns going to our store of destination.